डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी.
Namaskar students, welcome to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University's Video Aids lecture session. I, Dr. Nikita Gadani, Assistant Professor and Department of English, School of Humanities and Social Sciences at Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University. So today's our topic for the lecture that will be talking about Paper 3, History of English Literature, and Unit number 13, that is Romantic Age, Historical Background and the characteristic of that particular background. So yes, first we will be talking about the components of the presentation, and today's components of our presentations are: first we will be talking about the objectives, then we will be talking about the introductions, that what is Romantic Age and what is the importance of this, and then we will be talking about the historical background, and after that historical background we will be talking about the literary context, yes, the major literature which has been written in the time of that era, and then the characteristic features of that particular era, and after that we will be summing up our session, and then we will be talking about the questions and answers, and then we will be talking about the references and the web resources through which you can read further and you can take more knowledge after reading that books. So yes, objective of our today's presentation is that historical background of Romantic Age, yes, and then we will have a major characteristics of the Romantic Age. So in this unit and in this sessions we will be learning this two major aspects of this Romantic Age. So yes, then moving further with the introduction, that the questions always arise in our mind that what is Romantic Age and why the particular term is given to this Romantic Age. So basically the Romantic era was an artistic, literary, musical and intellectual movement, and that originated in Europe towards the end of the 18th century, and in most areas it was in peak that approximate period from the 1800 to 1850. So yes, there is known kind of a romantic period or Romantic Age. So Romanticism was characterized by its emphasis on the emotion and individualism as well as glorification as all the past and the nature, preferring the medieval rather than the classical. So it was partly a reaction to the industrial revolution, and after that the aristocratic, social and the political norms of that particular age, that is the Romantic Age. Then it was also the age of enlightenment and the scientific rationalizations of the nature, that all components of modernity. So it was personified the most strongly in the visual arts, music and literature, but had a major impact on historiography, education and the social sciences, and apart from this the natural sciences as well. So it had a significant and a complex effect on politics, with romantic thinkers with the romantic thinkers influencing the liberalism and the nationalism. So the movement emphasized intense emotion as an authentic source of aesthetic experience, placing new emphasis on such emotions as apprehensions, horror and terror, and especially that experienced in confronting the new aesthetic categories of that particular era and the sublimity and the beauty of the nature. In contrast to the rationalism and the classicism of the Enlightenment, Romanticism revived medievalism and The elements of art and narrative perceived as authentically medieval in an attempt to escape the population growth, early urban sprawl and industrialism. So, the nature of romanticism may be approached from the primary importance of the free expressions of the feeling of the artist. The importance the romantic placed on emotion is summed up in the remark of the German painter Caspar David Friedrich. The artist's feeling is his law, and for William Wordsworth, poetry should begin as the spontaneous overflow of emotions and powerful feelings, like evoking a new but corresponding emotions the poet can be molded into art. So, to express these feelings, it was considered the content of the art had to come from the imaginations of the artist with as little interference as possible from the artificial rules dictating what a work should consist of. Samuel Taylor Coleridge and others believed that there were natural laws that imagination, at least of a good creative artist, would unconsciously follow through the artist's inspirations if left alone. So, as well as rules, the influence of models from other works was considered to impede the creator's own imagination, so that originality was essential. So, the concept of genius or artist who was able to produce his own original work through his process of creation from nothingness is a key to romanticism, and to be derivative was the worst sin. So, this idea is often called the romantic originality. Stop. શું થયું? Okay. So, according to Berlin, Romanticism embodied a new and restless spirit, seeking violently to burst through the old and cramping forms, a nervous preoccupations with the perpetually changing inner states of consciousness, and a longing for the unbounded and the vague for perpetual movement and change, an effort to return to the forgotten sources of life, a passionate effort at self-ascertain, both individual and collective, a search after means of expressing an unappealable yearnings for the unattainable goals. So, now moving further with this, talking about the political aspects and the politics of that time of era, the political context of the beginning of the Romantic period is the French revolutions in 1789, the focus of which was to create political and social freedom, equality and a brotherhood. The intention was to abolish the power of the ruling classes and create democracy. So, this idea were prevalent in America, where the Declaration of the Independence had been signed already in 1776. So, in England, political reform gradually developed after some minor disturbances, but without a direct revolution, and in 1832 the Reform Act was passed with an intending of increasing parliamentary representations and reducing corruption. So, now talking about the industry and industrial aspect of that era, that at the end of the 18th century, manual labor and power had come to be replaced by machine based production. So, this development started in the textile industry but quickly spread to the other areas of productions. So, as the development of the railway engine introduced the production of the trains, and as factories came to be built away from the agriculture centers, people began to move from agriculture areas to town and cities. So, as we can see, there is the reformations and the development which took place, and that forced the manpower to shift from the village to the city area. So thousands of people, they were moving from the country to the town between the 1750 and 1850, changed England from a society based mainly on farming to a society where urban slums were now visible in many cities. So you can imagine the conditions when in certain period of time when people moving from one area to another area, or when the village to the city, that will create a more population problem in the cities areas, and then the slums were quite visible at that time. So working conditions were grim. People worked up to 16 hours a day. So you can imagine the conditions when the manpower, when the capacity of man to work for 8 hours, 10 hours, maybe 12 hours in a day, but that is about a 16 hours. So you can imagine the condition of human mind, and the pay was miserable at this inhuman working conditions and the child labor. So the consequences was, however, that by 1800 England was the most industrialized country in the world, and export had risen by 500 since 1700. But even if the per capita income increased, as a consequence of the industrializations, all family members had to work for families to survive. So yes, you can imagine that each member of the family, they have to work for the survival purpose, for their food, for their water, and for their basic needs, and for their daily needs. And poverty among the urban population was great, and insufficient housing was common. So that was the condition when they are shifting from one place to another place, and that is the reason that if we see that the social conditions and the human beings condition at that time, so they have to work so hard for their survival, and in very less amount of their wages. So if we talk about the literary context of that period, that in 1785 the pre-romantic poets like William Cowper wrote in the task, the god made the country and the man made the town. So the romantics were enthusiastic about the nature and especially appreciated areas in nature which had not been touched by human intervention. So simple rural life which had not been influenced or ruined by the industrial revolution, and in which man still lived in harmony with nature, was seen as an ideal parallel to this. Childhood was considered a pure period in life characterized by the freedom and not distorted by the adult norms and convention. So this idea spread after the publications in 1798 the lyrical ballads by William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and is reflected in much romantic poetry. A key idea in lyrical ballad was to speak for the ordinary people about the other people in a language which could be understood by everybody. So you can say that how the romantic era started, and how the influence of rural life, how the nature has much influenced on the writers, and how they beautifully depicted this in their work, in their poetry, in their novels, and how beautifully they also try to picture the life of a common man. So the romantic focused on an individual's right to imagine and to articulate his emotions and deal with everyday life. So in this connection, the task of the poet is to express the ideas and the feelings experienced by the people that become important. And this can be seen as a reaction to the previous age of reason, when the general and the rational had played a dominant part. So talking about another genre in the romantic period was the novel. So the three main categories of the novels can be defined, and the first of which is the Gothic novel, and the Mary Shelley's novel. The Frankenstein is the case in the point. The Gothic novels deal with the fantastic and grisly creatures and incidents, and often contain the supernatural elements. So, like that was the novel form, Gothic novel, which was evolved in this era with all the mystic characteristics and the supernatural elements in the novel. So, this novel can be interpreted as a parable of the man's interference with nature, a criticism of some people's trust in the power of science, or it may be considered or it can be seen as a symbol of alienation. So, the setting of Gothic literature would often be haunted castles among ruins and graveyards in the wild landscape far away from the civilization. So, you can see that the locations which is used in this novel, that was mainly a places which is very far from the city, which is very far from the human civilizations, and mostly haunted places which took place in this kind of a writing. So, we can still see the influence of Gothic literature in fiction and films today. And another type of novel is the novel of manners, and author whose novels of manners have become extremely popular through their adaptation for film and TV, and the mashup novels are those written by the Jane Austen. She was particularly interested in social hierarchies, human relations, and people's treatment of each other. Now, talking about the historical novel is the last type to be mentioned here, and an important novelist is Sir Walter Scott, who dealt with another important aspect of Romanticism, namely history or the past, as can be seen in Ivane from 1819, and his novel talked about night and the causes. So, from a literary point of view, Sir Walter Scott's death in 1832 marks the end of the Romantic period, and the most notable features of the poetry of that time is the new role of the individual thought and personal feeling. Where the main trend of 18th century poetics had been to praise the general, to see the poet as a spokesman of society addressing a cultivated and homogeneous audience and having as his end the convenience of the truth. The Romantics found the source of poetry in the particular unique experience. Black's marginal comment on Sir Joshua Rayland's discourses expresses the positions with characteristic passion. To generalize is to be an idiot. To particularize is the alone distinctions of merit, and the poet was seen as an individual distinguished from his fellows by the intensity of his perceptions, taking as his basic subject matter the working of his own mind. So, poetry was regarded as conveying his own truth. Sincerity was the criterion by the which it was to be judged. So, now talking about the characteristic features of the Romantic age, the first and the foremost, that is the nature and the common man. So, it was the age of the noble savage, and the Romantics had enough of rationalism, and the literature reflected a glorifications of nature, the common man, and the emotions inherent in each of them. The ideas of the Romantic period were to simplify and returns to as a less complicated way of life, which, because it was more natural, was considered to be superior. The heroes of Romantic literature didn't have to be royalty or great people, but the everyday common person who found wisdom in the world around her and closer lack of sophistications that was thought to be more honest and forthright. Now, another, that is a classical ideas and mythological imaginations. So, as the author of the Romantic literature avoided the rationalism, they turned to mythological imaginations to create their story. When they turned to classical ideas of Greek and Roman literature, it was the mystical elements that they drew upon, and the myths were the stuff of great stories, and those ideals were woven into the literature of the Romantic period. So, when you read the particular work and the particular poetry or a drama or a novel of that period, you may find those elements and the mythological elements in their work. And the Romantic authors were often fascinated with the supernatural and were the signs of the horror genre. Literature of that period attempt to evoke fears. Now they're talking about the heroes and the nationalism. Whereas neoclassicism had demanded that heroes can be noble, the heroes of the Romantic period were drawn from the common people. They were also distinct in nationality, with literature drawing upon the history and the folklore of the country from which the author came. The heroes were often patriots or folk heroes who helped to form a nation and protect it from outside influence. Like the Romanticism played an essential role in the national awakening of many Central European people lacking their own national state, and not least in Poland, which had recently failed to restore its independence when Russia's army crushed the Polish uprising under the Nicholas I. So, revival and reinterpretations of ancient myths, customs, and traditions by Romantic poets and the painters helped to distinguish their indigenous cultures from those of the dominant nations. So, patriotism, nationalism, revolutions, and armed struggle for the independence also become popular themes in the arts of their period. So, arguably, the most distinguished Romantic poet of this part of Europe was Adam Mickiewicz, who developed an idea that Poland was the meshes of nations and predestined to suffer just as Jesus had suffered to save all the people. So, the polish of self-image as the Christ among nations or the martyr of Europe can be traced back to its history. So, during the periods of foreign occupation, the Catholic Church served as bastion of Poland's national identity and language and the major promoter of Polish culture. The partitions came to be seen in Poland as a Polish sacrifices for the security for the Western civilizations, and Adam Mickiewicz wrote the patriotic drama Dizzady that directed against the Russias, where he depicts Poland as the Christ of the nations. He also wrote that verily I say unto you, it is not for you to learn civilizations from the foreigners, but it is you who are to teach them civilizations. You are among the foreigners like the apostle among the idolaters. So, in book of the Polish nations and the Polish pilgrimage, Mickiewicz detailed his vision of Poland as a Messiah and a Christ of nations that would save mankind. Dizzady is known for the various interpretations. The most known ones are the moral aspect of part 2, individualist, and the romantic message of the part 4. So, as well as deeply patriotic, automatic, and the Christian's visions in part 3 of the poem. Now, talking about the unusual settings, that the Romantic literature didn't limit itself to just rural settings or those of a particular nationality, through that was definitely one of the characteristic. Author of this school often choose unusual setting from the past or a future, settings with magical or mystic elements or even off planet. So, just as Romantic literature was the forerunner of the horror genre, it was also the forerunner of the fantasy and science fiction genre. Sublime, according to the Romantics, we experienced the sublime when we were out in nature, but not just any nature. We have to be facing nature at its outstanding, its most awe-inspiring. We need to think big mountains, crazy deep valleys, a huge thunderstorm with lightning striking everywhere. So, what happens when we are confronted with nature at its grandest is that we are both terrified and uplifted all at once. It's hard feeling to describe, but we are gushing over. You have felt it. So the sublime was the important to the Romantics because they loved nature and anything having to do with the nature, and they believed that the sublime transited the rational, and that is the feelings of awe and the terror evoked by the sublime are beyond words, and the emotions that the sublime creates overwhelm rational thought. So when that big thunderstorm hits, we are terrified and excited, we are laughing and we are crying. We were basically a whole mass of very powerful emotions. So think of this way. And apart from this major characteristic, we in this period the emphasis was also on emotional and imaginary spontaneity, and it was there and it was found in the works of the writers. The importance of self-expression and individual feeling, and the Romantics poetry is one of the heart and the emotions, exploring the truth of the imaginations rather than the scientific truth. The I voice is central, and it is the poet's perceptions and the feelings that matter. And almost religious responses to to nature, and they were concerned that the nature should not just be seen scientifically but as living force, either made by a creator as in some way divine, to be neglected as humankind's parent. So some of them were no longer, and the Shelley was an atheist, and for a while Wordsworth was apatheistic, the belief that the God is in everything, and much of their poetry celebrated the beauty of nature or protested the ugliness of the growing industrializations of that century. The machines, factories, slum conditions, populations, and so on. So a capacity of wonder, and consequently a reverse for the freshness and innocence of the visions of childhood, and that was also visible in their work. To see the world of the Romantics, attitude towards the childhood emphasizes on the imagination as a positive and creative faculty, and interest in the primitive forms of art, for instance in the work of the early poets, in ancient ballads and the folk songs. So some of the Romantics turned back to the past times to find inspirations either to be medieval period or Greek and Roman mythology. Aspects of Gothic and the medieval revival, that was also visible at that time and at that period. An interest and a concern for the outcasts of society, that the tramps, beggars, obsessive characterists, and the poor disregarded are especially evident in Romantic poetry. So talking about the further characteristic, the idea of poet as a visionary figure with an important role to play as prophet in both political and the religious term. So talking about that, to summing up this unit, what we have learned, that we have learned the major historical aspect of the Romantic age, the major features and the characteristics of that particular age, and we also learned that how the survival was difficult at that time, how shifting and how migration from one place to another place create a major role in the human being's mind and the mentality of the people, and how industrialization play also a vital role in that particular time. So now talking about the questions, the first thing, define romantic age. So yes, what you need to do in this questions, that you need to write that what is romantic age and what are the major development which took place during that period and during that time. So moving further with the second question, that discuss the major features of the romantic age. Yes, we have just discussed the major features like the man and the nature, the sublime and the nature, how nature play roles in the writings and how they influenced the writers to take this kind of themes in their writings, whether it is a novel or a poetry or any other forms of writing. Define literary context of romantic age. Yes, so in this questions, what you need to write, that is you need to define the literary context of romantic age. That means that, as we have just talked about, that what was the literary development at that time, what they were, why they are choosing some different themes in their writing, and what was the reason that they adopted the certain features of writing, and why they were choosing the nature, and why they are choosing common man and the life of a common man and the day-to-day life, why they are depicting this kind of a themes in their work, that you need to mention in this question. So apart from this, write a note on a historical background of romantic age. So yes, historical background of the romantic age. Why? What was the major thing that that lead people to write something different from they were not writing in their previous life. So if you write the historical background, definitely you will get some idea about that, why it took place and why they insisted, why they took the theme, the different themes in their writing. So this kind of a questions, and apart from these, there will be also the more questions which you can get it from your text material and you can learn this. But I hope that this will satisfy your knowledge, and that will give you kind of a knowledge that what you need to acquire in the romantic age. So after this, talking about the references, these are the books and these are the references that you can read this book and you can get some knowledge from this book. And also there are certain website available online, you can go Google it, you can get it, that what is romantic age, and you can learn more about it. I hope that you get this lecture, I hope that you understood the concept of this romantic age, and see you soon in next session. Till then, goodbye, namaskar.